Politics, and we have our political analyst, John Dadian, in the house, who's wearing his Charger colors this morning. Thank you for coming, John.
Good morning.
You look very nice.
Thank you.
Nice to have you. Let's talk about sort of a wrap-up now. We were doing Golden Hall coverage and election coverage. Starting with the mayor's race, any surprises there? I think Mr. Filner was a surprise in terms of the number that he achieved. Any other surprises that you gleaned from that?
No big surprises. Again, what really happened during the mayor's race is Bob Filner early on said he would probably be in the runoff, but it seemed like he wasn't really running an aggressive campaign. And a lot of people of his supporters were worried that he went down, then he got aggressive and came up in the polls, then he kind of slacked off again. But he peaked at the right time. So that there were certainly other surprises in election night, but not in the mayor's race.
Yeah, article in the U2 this morning saying Filner took the quiet road to the runoff. Talk about Prop B, because this is interesting. I talked to City Attorney Jan Goldsmith that night at Golden Hall. He said that there is really no litigation that is relevant that could possibly move forward. Of course, Lorena Gonzalez in Labor said something completely different, saying that there would be litigation. Can we kind of figure out where we're going with Prop B here?
You've got to keep in mind, not only do we have a very good city attorney right now, but specifically we have a city attorney who's a former judge. So believe me, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's vetted it. He's actually very, no pun intended, very conservative as far as he does his homework. So he has vetted this, and he's saying that with a very well, background research on the item. So I don't think there's going to be a challenge. Lorena is doing her job, and that's fine. But yeah, it does not. I'm not an attorney, but does not look like there's going to be a legal challenge. And the good thing is, both the city attorney and Carl DeMaio and the other supporters of Prop B say they're going to move, as they should, move very aggressively. The people have spoken and implement the people's will. Keep in mind, there's still a lot of bad feelings about managed competition. Was passed just like that by the voters many years ago, and still some people feel have not been implemented fully.
Well, that really is going to be the component of the mayor's race for November. Bob Filner, obviously the only candidate who wants the 401k style system to continue. Mr. DeMaio wants the pension reform initiative. That is going to be really, I think, a big issue. With Prop B passing at more than 70%, it's going to be definitely a battleground.
Some consultants pay pollsters tens of thousands of dollars to do a poll to know the feel of the people. I do my polling at a bar in Pacific Beach called Good Time Charlie's. I talk to the average man or woman on the street.
Were you there last night?
I was.
Yeah.
And what they like about Carl DeMaio is, what some people criticize him for, is his pension plan. At most forums, they told Carl, don't bring props, and he would always hold up that plan. Even though it passed in June, he's going to hold up his roadmap to recovery at every forum from now to November and say, you and I, the voters, did it. I got to tell you, that resonates very well.
Will he work on that plan? Because there's things in that plan that actually are not correct now. The actuaries have actually changed. Will he modify that?
Oh, technicalities. Huh? Whether or not he modifies
because that might be something Filner will look to.
Again, if Filner's smart, he won't, because it'll just give what the problem would be. And you bring up a good point, Jeff. But if Filner does try to nitpick on it, because clearly he was the only candidate that was opposed to the Prop B initiative, etc., that will give Carl DeMaio an opportunity to respond, and that would not be good. So I don't think Filner's going to take that road.
Can we talk about the presidential race for a second? It's been a rough week, really 2 weeks for Mr. Obama. He has had some issue after issue come up. This far out, does it make a difference in terms of November, or are we just too far out at this point?
I'm going to contradict myself, because on one hand, the famous political saying is that it's an eternity, between now and November. That's an eternity. But on the other hand, things are going quickly. What I'm looking at, as I've said on this broadcast before, is people talk about poll numbers between Obama and Romney, who's ahead by 1 point or 2 points. What I'm looking at is specifically the unfavorable of the president. No president's had unfavorable ratings this low and recovered, and that's why I think he's in trouble.
What is the unfavorable rating? Do we have that number?
The last numbers were in the 40s, and that's pretty high as far as unfavorable rating.
Mr. Romney had a successful fundraising month in May. He raised more cash, I believe, than Mr. Obama, so he is definitely. He still has to pick his VP candidate, though, which is a big deal. That's going to be a big deal.
The Veep stakes, we call it, is a big deal. What you've noticed very recently, within the last couple of weeks, which is good news for the Obama camp, is they've changed their strategy. They've gotten off of trying to criticize him on Bain Capital because that wasn't resonating with the public, and what they're going for, which is borderline brilliant, is they're going after his Massachusetts record as governor. Now, most people, including yours truly, think he did a very good job as governor because it was a difficult state for a Republican, but nationally, when they start bringing up some of the things he did, Republicans in the heartland, Iowa, Indiana, they're not going to like some of those things that they did in Massachusetts. So that's a very smart strategy on behalf of the Democratic Party.
Real quick, is President Clinton a hindrance or a help to President Obama?
Huge help on the two ways that it counts. Fundraising, bringing in a ton of dough, bringing in more money than any of his supporters, and bringing in the crowds. We're talking about the President of the United States, but the former president, when he appears, brings in more people.
He had a couple of slip-ups, though, didn't he?
Because he's Bill Clinton. Okay. I mean, the best, I say this as a compliment. Some people think that it's a shot. His best compliment is he's called a rogue. That's what people like about him.
Yeah, he is riveting to watch.
Absolutely.
As are you.
That's why you're my PR agent.
Good to see you, John.
Very
Thanks
good.
for coming on
Thank
this
you.
morning.